You've come to the right place. If you're a course creator looking to build more impact, income, and freedom, LMScast is the #1 podcast for course creators just like you. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of the most powerful tool for building, selling, and protecting engaging online courses called LifterLMS. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. I'm joined by a special guest. His name is David Vogelpohl from WP Engine. Welcome back on the show, David.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be back.
I'm super excited to get into this conversation with you because WP Engine has just released LifterLMS into their site templates as an option for people who are building courses or training-based membership sites to not start from I guess zero, you would say, or it's a really cool offering. Can you tell us more about WP Engine's site templates and what that means to aspiring course creators or coaches or people building training-based membership sites?
Sure, absolutely. So site templates is a feature we added to the WP Engine platform last year. And what it allows our customers to do is to spin up a new WordPress instance, which includes plugins and themes which are automatically installed and activated. And the reason this is helpful for people is instead of creating a new site and having to, go and download the plugin and install it, or go to WordPress.org and find it and install it, as well as the themes that you might use, a lot of these assets essentially come pre-installed when you activate the WordPress site. So that can shave off a lot of time when you're getting that new site up and going. We launched site templates on WP Engine as a way to help our customers move faster when creating a new website. And they tend to follow types of websites. So in other words, with LifterLMS in particular, we saw value in that because, of course, a lot of our customers are creating course sites or learning management sites to educate their org or their customers. And so it was a natural fit for us to include that in the mix. But again, the short answer is that it helps people get up and going faster when creating a new website.
That is awesome. So is it something that, if somebody's very beginning, they don't have a web host yet, they've chosen WordPress as their platform of choice, and they're looking for hosting, they're looking for an LMS solution, and they discover this. Is this something that people have to start with from scratch, like sign up for WP Engine at the beginning? What if they're already a WP Engine customer?
Yeah, so you can certainly sign up and leverage the Lifter site template. Existing customers have that in their customer portal today. So when they create a new site, they go into a section of our portal called Sites, surprise. They click Create New Site, and they can either choose to create a blank site or one from the template. And then in that flow, if you will, they would select the LifterLMS template. What happens after that is the WP Engine platform creates the WordPress instance on our servers. So again, if you're new to WordPress or building sites in general, it's just going to create that version of WordPress. It's going to pre-install and activate Lifter, and it's going to pre-install a bunch of other themes that work with Lifter. These are actually what are called Genesis themes. They're made by WP Engine. They're fully supported through our normal chat, our normal support chat. And they also include something called one-click theme setup, which will automatically load a bunch of demo content too. So I think the value in site templates is, again, kind of I don't have to go figure out what all the right things are and install them and get going. A lot of that's already done for you by the time you get going. But then when you couple in things like Lifter setup flow, and then, of course, also the theme setup wizard, then a lot of the hard pieces are done for you, and you can really just get started editing your content. In the Lifter case, of course, building out your modules and so on and so forth. But it really cuts out a lot of that work, especially for new folks. Now, of course, developers like that too, because everybody likes an easy button. But if you're new to WordPress or new to editing and building sites, tools like this actually can make it a lot easier for you to deal with. It's funny, there's another company called GeekPack that does some training for WordPress. They donated their services. They made a free course, actually, for kids to learn WordPress during the COVID crisis when they're on lockdown from school. They actually also used one of those themes to learn WordPress, just to kind of show you how easy it makes it, is even those very young just learning. are still able to leverage it. So that's some of the benefits I see for folks using it. But yes, existing customers can use it. And then, of course, if people sign up, they can also use it.
That is awesome. And I just want to parking lot for a second on what you talked about, where as as a WordPress power user, you're like, if you're starting from scratch, there's the default WordPress theme or whatever. Once you get into a good host and you have some quality themes that are made well, designed well, well supported, demo content, and your LMS ready to rock, like that whole process, if you're new, might take a long time, and you may choose a theme that may not be the best fit. Or if you don't have demo content, you may choose a theme and not really know what you can do with it, which is awesome. That and it's not just one theme. This is the cool thing about the site templates is design is subjective. Like, I was looking through some of the themes you have in there, and some of them are kind of focused on WooCommerce, which is awesome because Lifter has a optional WooCommerce integration. It also has its own just native checkout. So there's that. And then there's the monochrome I was really just nerding out on recently. And I love for me personally, I really like that style. It's really good. But I know, just because I've been around design for a long time, that people have different flavors that they like, and not just the overall styling. The cool thing that I've always admired about Genesis related themes and StudioPress is the focus on like landing pages, pricing tables and stuff like that you guys have. This is stuff that marketers like, but also course creators and people who are building coaching programs, memberships. They really care about that stuff. And the plugin like Lifter as an LMS it's mostly functionality. So you really got to pair in design that really does the trick. But go ahead, any comments on that?
Yeah, totally. Just for the sake of those listening, the Lifter LMS site template, I forget the exact number, I think it's like 6 or 7 different Genesis-based themes are actually included with it. Every one of the themes includes the one-click theme setup. Chris, you talked about how you have a theme and you install it and it doesn't really kind of look like the demo at all, really. And you're like, what do I do? These
Yeah.
themes have solved that problem. So you click on a little wizard and it loads in all the demo content. You can start editing right away. All of the themes included with the Lifter LMS site template have been tested with Lifter LMS. We actually rejected. We have 37 total themes. We did not bundle all of them in. We only bundled in the ones that worked best with Lifter out of the gate. Now, for those unfamiliar, Genesis is fundamentally a theme framework. It's a way of building themes. And so the themes included with the Lifter site template leverage the Genesis framework. Now, you may or may not get too deep into using Genesis if you use one of the themes, because the themes abstract all the tech stuff away and make it super easy. But the themes themselves in Genesis are optimized for growth. They're optimized for SEO, they're optimized for speed. And as you pointed out, that demo content includes landing pages, it includes other sales material, because of course we realize that people use websites to make money. So when we provide that demo content, when we optimize those themes, when we optimize Genesis itself, it's not just in the lens of like, how do we make something that's pretty and functional, but how do we make something that is going to help someone grow? Which is why Genesis has been very early in just even WordPress history at leading in WordPress SEO. It does work well with Yoast. So like Genesis has SEO features and Yoast does too. We actually will, quote, yield to Yoast in those situations. But I think the high level of it is that absolutely we've optimized those themes for sales. And I think when you partner it up with a plugin like Lifter LMS, again, you have that really great starting point to start building out your vision. Just because you use a theme doesn't mean that your site has to look like everybody else. You can change the color scheme. You can change the layout. You can use different content on your site, of course. And even with the site templates, you can even use a different theme that we don't include. It's a normal version of WordPress. You can do all that. But just because you're using something templated doesn't mean you can't make it look unique. One of my favorite stories of someone using our themes in that way is the U.S. women's national soccer team. And Chris, do you remember them they're still going through this, but they're kind of quote fight for equal pay.
Yeah.
They team built a bit of a protest site and actually used one of our themes, Revolution Pro, which I know you've experienced and you like. It was kind of ironic they chose that one. But the site they built with that looked like the demo content in a way, but they had changed the font, they had changed the layout, they had changed the colors, and it was unique to them. So just because you leverage a tool that helps you get going faster doesn't mean you're going to be like everybody else. And that's what those themes allow you to do. The last thing I'll mention here is they do include what we call block-based demo content. So if you're familiar with the word Gutenberg and what the block editor is, these themes come with blocks that are pre-designed, pre-optimized for speed, for conversion rates, so on and so forth. And you can edit that content yourself. And meaning you can edit the design, you can edit the layout, where the blocks are at, which means that every time you want to change your website, you don't have to mess with code or hire a developer. A lot of those tasks can actually be done by your content creators, or if you're a single site owner, by yourself.
That is awesome. I use WP Engine for my personal stuff. I'm so busy and focused on Lifter. I don't spend a lot of time on chrisbadgett.com, but if you go to that website, I've been a happy WP Engine customer for a long time. I love your chat support. And whenever I hear people talk about WP Engine, they're always like, yeah, the chat support. Even my customers are like, when are you going to add chat support like WP Engine? And one day, maybe we'll get there. But it's awesome. And this kind of three-legged stool between theme, plugins, hosting, and now blocks. So I guess we have four legs on the, it's not a stool anymore, it's a chair, whatever, is it's essential. And then you throw in demo content, and we often use the metaphor of like a starter home. I think that's why we get along famously with you all at WP Engine, because we're kind of obsessed with this same problem of how do we get somebody in the door, move the starting line like further along, so because they don't know what they don't know, or there's nothing worse than just seeing somebody start getting frustrated with this really powerful, awesome tool called WordPress, or just make mistakes because they had no like kind of blueprint or model or tools that they understood that they could start messing around with. And that's what you guys do, which is awesome. And go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for mentioning the chat support. I actually use it myself. My friends, of course, know I work at WP Engine, and they'll randomly message me on Facebook and ask me some question about the platform I don't happen to personally know the answer to. So I'll often advise them to go to chat, but I'm not pawning it off. It's actually where I go to get my answers. So I also will go in there 24/7, which is great. So if I'm working on my own site on the weekend, I'll just pop into Portal, open a chat, and get an answer right away. So it's actually really, really awesome. I think the point you made about moving the starting line is really key. The value of WP Engine just in general, you would think of us often as what we call a managed host. And what that means, if you're not familiar with how hosting works, is you can basically get kind of a generic hosting account where like they don't do a lot for you, but they give you a home for your website. And it's kind of a lot of the management is on you to make sure that site is up to date and healthy and secure and stable. And then WP Engine provides essentially the next level, if you will, where we help our customers make sure their sites are up to date. Now, of course, they can still keep the updates themselves and manage all that on their own. But we offer things like upgrading WordPress for you if there's a security vulnerability. So if you're not paying attention to that and doing it on your own, we've got your back. We'll come in and make sure you're up to date. The same is true with PHP. If you're non-technical, that's the programming language that's used in WordPress. That can also go out of date and cause security and performance issues. So we keep that up to date for customers as well. And then we have like a product called Smart Plugin Manager that will help keep your plugins up to date, make sure they're working well, and things like that. So this is kind of if you would say the core value of WP Engine's managed hosting is that we're taking care of a lot of those things you may not even realize you need to take care of. But of course, we're fast and secure and stable and things like that. The starting line is really interesting. When WP Engine acquired Genesis, the theme framework that we've been talking about, that was back in 2018, one of the biggest complaints we heard from that ecosystem was my site doesn't look like the demo content. I looked at that demo site and it was beautiful, and I installed that theme and it looked nothing like this. And this is very familiar. I'm sure even members of the audience have had this experience. I call this the most disappointing experience on the internet. You see this beautiful demo site and you install it and you're like, what the heck just happened? I don't see any of those things here. And so we very quickly followed by adding the one-click theme setup features. Site templates takes that one step further by auto-installing the plugins and themes directly when the WordPress site is created. And then the themes themselves then take that even further by loading in the demo content and so on and so forth. That starting line is just so important to be able to edit a site that is well-designed, well-optimized, and be able to do that in just a matter of minutes is huge. I mean, you're cutting giant chunks of time off your setup time. And I remember just a real quick anecdote on this. Back in 2016, I built a website live on stage at a conference. I
Wow.
practiced dozens of times. We had a script. Every move of my mouse, every click of my button had been practiced over and over and over and over again. It was the most stressful presentation of my entire life. And we got it. We got it done in 45 minutes. And when we released one-click theme setup, we had a team marketing meeting, which included a lot of our marketers who are not developers, content creators, designers, stuff like that. And we had them build their own custom site with the themes just for fun. And that exercise lasted 30 minutes. And I remember thinking, this will fail miserably. I practiced dozens of times and barely pulled it off. There's no way these people that are not used to building WordPress sites are going to be able to do this. And they did it easily. And they were creative, and they added videos, and they had little jokes in their copy and stuff like that. They not only had time to build it, they had time to be creative while doing it. And to me, that's what this is all about. I think Lifter does a really great job of that with y'all's onboarding wizard. So it's really fun. I like your kind of three-legged stool, four-legged chair kind of analogy.
Yeah.
But it's really like, how can the different parts of your WordPress site work together to provide you a better experience? And that's fundamentally the principle behind site templates. But I think even just outside of that, as companies like ours work together and find ways to serve the people we serve together better, I think at the end of the day, that just is ultimately better for WordPress.
Well, you're pulling on my heartstrings, David, because I believe that the old way we operate as a technology company is we put our product at the center, and then we do things to reinforce our product. But when we put the new way, which I say is like we put our customer at the center. So what do they need? Well, that we need to remove friction. It may require collaborating with other companies. It may require, investing in the community and understanding, making sure we understand people. It involves like, oh, there's several different types of people that use our technology. What do they need? What are the use cases? And I just love this conversation where we are right here, because this is about the user. And my next question for you is, well, let me just say, like, there's three primary groups of customers that use LifterLMS. The first is the do-it-yourself expert or DIYer, and they maybe their first foray into WordPress, or they may be in the middle, or they've been in WordPress for a long time and they can crank out sites and they're not worried at all. Then the second is the builder, I call them. These are the agencies and the freelancers who build LMS sites for clients. And then the third is more of a user that is switching off of a hosted LMS, courseware, membership, more of a traditional SaaS, and they realize they want the ownership, the control, the brand flexibility, the customizability, the open options, so they can bring in more unique branding, design, and even added functionality because it's open source. So we've got what I call the starter, the builder, and the switcher. I want to focus the conversation right here on the builder, the WordPress freelancer, the agency, the marketing professional, or whatever they're calling themselves. They build LMS sites for clients. Talk about WP Engine site templates in the context of empowering the freelancer, the agency owner here.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. Often when we think of things like setup wizards and easy buttons and blocks and things like that, what this invokes in a lot of people's minds is this is for the DIYer. The DIYer can use those blocks, they can use the setup stuff, and they can get up and going quickly. And that's actually all true. But of course, as I referenced earlier, everyone loves the easy button. Developers, of course, can leverage these same capabilities to get their projects done faster. Now, of course, depending on the developer and the agency or the freelancer or whatever, they probably may or may not want to heavily customize the design, heavily customize the functionality. Some people like 100% unique designs. That's all, of course, possible with Genesis itself. But tools like this ultimately help them get their job done faster. Just like those marketers were able to spin up that site in the setup wizard for the themes takes about 30 seconds. They were able to get that demo content loaded in 30 seconds. They were able to start editing that site and be creative with it in that 30-minute project I was telling you about. Well, of course, developers can also benefit from that because they can get that next project up and going quicker. So with a site template, they can get the WordPress instance created, the plugins installed, and the themes installed and activated, and then using the one-click theme setup wizard, get all the demo content loaded. So if you're building sites for others, I think one of the key things is speed, right? I ran an agency, WordPress agency, for 5 years. I never had one client answer the question, when would you like this? Like 6 months from now. Like nobody ever said that. They always said tomorrow. So I think there's this kind of pressure on agencies to deliver quickly for clients. And then, of course, you have the kind of tug and pull of scope creep and all of these other aspects to running your agency or freelance business that can start to erode your profit margins. So everywhere you can shave off time is something that will help you deliver faster to customers, but also help you improve your own profit margins per customer, per project. And so tools like this ultimately do help the advanced developer, advanced freelancer that may be doing super custom stuff, but still like that easy button.
That's awesome. Well, while we're here on the builder, I just wanted to bring another sub niche within that into the conversation, which is this whole emerging, growing niche called the WAS entrepreneur, websites as a service, where they're not necessarily building the site and then transferring it to their clients. WP Engine has this awesome transferable install thing. So if you're an agency or a freelancer, it's awesome. But some people, their clients don't want to. They don't want to get that involved in the tech. They don't even. They may even hold the site. The agency or the freelancer would hold the site on their WP Engine account, charge the client monthly fee, whatever they're doing. If you go to LifterLMS.com and you click on the examples, you'll see a case study we just did with a woman named Sally Crew who created a course as a natural healthcare practitioner. She had a great launch. I think she made like $15,000 on her launch, but then she kept showing other people how to do it, and then she just added this idea of like a business platform for a natural healthcare practitioner website as a bonus. And then all these people are like, it became the main thing. She was like, I guess, so it's so she became like what we would call a WAS entrepreneur. This is a super niche, like WordPress thing. If I was going to build a WAS business, me personally, I would not use multi-site. I would use WP Engine. I would get a multi-site account level pricing plan with WP Engine. I would create this like incredible template of like, for like a really specific use case, like Sally Crew did, natural healthcare practitioners, health, wealth, relationships. Those are the big three niches. Now go down another layer. Like Sally did, she's in health, natural healthcare practitioner. And then I would use this, what we're talking about here, site templates, is like my starting point. And maybe I would just start, if I was successful with it, I would start maybe knocking out other use cases and build other WASs or whatever. I'm giving out some of my best ideas.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. If I had free time, I would be all over that, and I would use this in my stack. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, WAS is a fairly large term, and some of the scenarios you described we might think of as like an agency reselling hosting to their customers. I remember in my agency days, people would ask me all the time, they'd say, oh, I guess I'll just host with you, right?
Yeah.
That's a little different, I suppose, than a WAS, by sake of example. Now, multi-site is a great way to do WordPress as a service. You have basically little microsites underneath your kind of overarching WordPress instance. But the way I think about WAS typically is even just one WordPress instance that's not multi-site.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman named Charles the Coder that made a site called Hospitality Nerds during the start of the COVID crisis. And it provides basically restaurant owners a platform for charging for food online and facilitating curbside pickup and delivery and so on and so forth. And so this was an example of a platform that was built with WordPress. Now, site templates is a great way to get up and going building. I think one thing, if I was building that though, with anything in the WP Engine stack, is I would actually leverage Genesis. So that feature I talked about earlier, one-click theme setup, that's actually a feature of the theme framework Genesis. It's not just something you use when you're using a theme. What I mean by this is that a developer can write their own one-click theme setup, and it will install plugins. It will install demo content. So the model you actually described, I would personally use one-click theme setup to do that. Not only will it do all of the demo content, all of the plugins, but it includes something called starter packs. So you were talking about the sub-niches by sake of example.
Yeah.
So you have a starter pack for, I don't know, healthy eating and another one for exercise. I'm not really into that niche, but basically I would leverage one-click theme setup, and then I would give the user the option to choose starter packs. By the way, the themes in the LifterLMS site template also include starter packs. So if you are focusing on a particular niche for your LifterLMS site, you can actually choose from some of the starter packs that are there to get demo content that's optimized for that type of website. Now, of course, you can change the content to be about anything you want, but the demo content, of course, will help you get there a little faster.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for nerding out with me as a WordPress power user, more advanced use case thing. I want to go back to something that's relevant to everybody, which is full site editing. And I know I've learned just myself as a more of a WordPress power user, not necessarily I'm not a developer, that when I'm kind of fuzzy on something, I know a lot of people are fuzzy on it. And so I like to, ask smart people like like you to help bring me up to speed, who's like on the front lines of the innovation and ear to the ground and all that. Tell us about full site editing. And you recently wrote an article on Genesis Pro, and I know that kind of factors in. Like, bring us up to speed. Tell us a little bit. Give us a little glimpse into the future of what's coming for WordPress and how we can leverage it.
Sure. So we're going to get kind of nerdy here. We're going to talk about the future. So earlier I referenced Gutenberg, which is the new, quote, block editor in WordPress. Now, in today's world, the block editor, Gutenberg, is only used for editing content in the body of your pages and your posts. So in other words, you can't use the block editor to make a menu or navigation. You can't use it to fill out your sidebar. You can't use it to build your footer. When we say full site editing, what we mean is that block editor will be available and used to control all of those experiences: the header, the navigation, the sidebar, and the footer. Now, the benefits, of course, we all enjoy from the block editor going into those places will provide a lot more flexibility for content creators, designers, and DIY site owners to manage their own website. If you've ever edited a menu in WordPress, you know that you have to go to the menu area and then you kind of move little tiles around and build it out. Sidebar is kind of intuitive, but not overly intuitive, and God help you if you're going to try to edit the footer without being a developer.
Right.
These can be actually extremely challenging. And so full site editing will bring those capabilities to all of those places. Now, often what we hear, especially from like the hardcore developers, is, wait a minute, that's my domain, don't mess with that. I don't want to provide that level of control. But I think what you end up seeing by folks that have started to adopt the block editor is realizing like, oh, wait, I can scale my innovation. I can build that content creator a block that does very special, specific things for my brand, and they don't have to come to me every time they want to change the language in it. They can actually just go in and make that edit. They could even change the color if I let them. Because again, the developers also have control over what those content creators and DIY or non-developers can do. So you do have control on what they can edit. But you can also grant those content creators and marketers the ability to do that on their own, which means that as a developer, you can focus on building more blocks, more components like that, and then doing other interesting things for your site. In other words, as a developer, developers, I know we love landing pages, Chris, but
Yeah.
developers hate them.
Yeah.
And so
Why is that?
because they want to do the cool stuff. They don't want to code
Okay.
that
Yeah.
design. They want to go make
Yeah.
a custom plugin or make some new aspect to your site. And
Not
earlier,
take things away and simplify, right?
yeah, exactly. Earlier you talked about the switchers. Well, why do people switch from proprietary platforms to open platforms? In my experience, it's because their ideas to be unique exceed the capabilities of a closed platform.
That's
Meaning
well
that,
said.
well, yeah, exactly. I don't want to
Yeah.
be like everybody else. I want to be like me. I want to have the functionality that's important to me in my business. I don't want to have the same exact thing everybody else has. That's what WordPress delivers. And I think as we think about the block editor and this notion of full site editing, it really starts to bring that to all of WordPress. So I see it both scaling the ability of the DIYer and marketer and content creator to do even more powerful and custom things, but I also see it as the way the development teams scale their innovation. Because not every new landing page is a soul crushing landing page ticket for that dev team. Like they want to be doing cool stuff. They don't really want to be coding every. Some people of course enjoy that. Somebody's listening like I love that, but it is one way. Now I think the other thing to think about here is that full site editing is not live yet. This will be likely released in WordPress in December 2020. Now, that could change, of course, but that's the current date that the team has slated. Now, when it launches, themes, as you know them today, if you know them, will greatly change. And for the nerds listening, basically what this means is the theme template files that we all know and love basically will kind of be going away and being replaced with something called block template files. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on the tech stuff, but this is going to drastically change how themes are built. Now, don't
I have
worry.
a question for you. Is
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get clear on this stuff too, and I'm a WordPress power user. What are themes going to go away entirely? Or are they just going to become more minimal? Like, or are we going from the stool to the chair or whatever? Like,
Yes.
let me get it.
Yeah, so there's this notion that quote themes will die. Now you've probably heard that before with full site editing. That's actually not true. There will be themes in WordPress, but the files themselves that are used for the themes and the way sites are styled are changing. So they're changing in a couple of key ways. One, there's going to be something in WordPress called general styles, which are, as you can imagine, general styles for your site. Now, themes today will actually play that role in a lot of WordPress websites. So that's one thing that will be different from how it works today than how it will work in the future. I think the key difference, though, is that a lot of the PHP functions that are used in template files today, nearly all of them, are not available in the new model. So if you're adding a lot of custom functionality into your themes today through PHP, that's just not going to be available to you if you're building a theme for full site editing. Now, you could also think of themes in an abstract way, right? A theme to most people actually is a set of designs. And it's, for many people, also a set of demo content. Well, even though themes will be simplified in how they work in the new paradigm, the demo content, how it's structured, how it's optimized, these can all be very, very specific to a theme, even though the theme files themselves are different. And so I still expect there will be many, many design variants. I still expect that, absolutely know that not everyone is a good designer, because I'm not a good designer. I know others aren't as well. And so this notion of there being themes in the future, yes, there will be. Yes, there will be variety. But how the theme files, the template files work, that will change. Now, for us at WP Engine, we've talked about Genesis. We've talked about that actually quite a bit here. And that is a way of building themes, non-full site editing themes, because of course that's not in WordPress yet. So Genesis itself will evolve. We'll have a new version when full site editing comes out that pulls a lot of that PHP stuff we're doing in the parent theme. I know I'm getting kind of deep here, but we'll pull that actually into a plugin. So this is an example of how a lot of the tools you use, particularly around theming, will evolve when full site editing comes to be. Now, of course, WP Engine's all over this. We're monitoring what's happening in core. We're actually participating and contributing code back to help realize this vision in WordPress. And of course, we're keeping our own products up to date, as I talked about. I do want to mention one thing before we get to your next question, because I know there was a lot of apprehension around Gutenberg when it was before it was released. And you might be thinking now, will my site work in December if I don't do this full site editing thing? Yes, it will work. The WordPress core team, all product teams recognize you're not going to adopt it on the first day. WordPress has an excellent history of supporting backwards compatibility. So no, your site's not going to break on December 31st. You're going to have time to adopt the new way. And if you're using technology providers like Lifter or WP Engine or Genesis and things like that, they're keeping an eye on it, and they're going to make sure their products are ready. I don't think in Lifter's case this actually matters hardly at all, because obviously Lifter's a plugin and not a theme. But my point is that people are paying attention to it. Just make sure you choose products that are well supported, have a company behind them that does a good job. And there's a good chance you'll be okay. But again, your site's not going to break on December 31st.
What you're going to see is you're going to see like cool stuff coming from like WP Engine or Genesis, and you're just more likely nothing's going to break. You're just going to have like, oh, I want that thing. It's more going to be
the new, it's the new way.
Model.
Yeah, exactly. So it will, to adopt the new way, the tools you use will either need to evolve, or you'll need to choose new tools if they don't evolve. Again, another great reason to choose plugins with strong companies behind them so they can keep up with that as WordPress evolves. But yeah, it'll be the new way. Your old way stuff will still work. So again, the WordPress core team isn't about to rip the rug out from everybody.
Right.
And you know that this notion of iteration is also helpful to those developers, because V1 is your worst product you will ever release for that product. It's the worst thing you'll ever, the worst version of it that will ever exist. And so it's helpful not to just kind of rip the Band-Aid off for everybody. Closed platforms, one kind of easy example to give here that's not really picking on anybody would be like Facebook. Now, you don't really think of Facebook as a website building platform, because it's not, but it is a closed platform, meaning that you can't really customize it. It's just there. So they can roll out.
A lot of people use a Facebook page as for their business, and that's it, right? Like,
people are using it in that way, but I guess where I'm going with that is there's not a lot of capabilities within Facebook itself to customize it. You can't change the styles, you can't change the layout, you can't do any of that stuff. So in a closed platform, you can actually like rip the Band-Aid off. You can just like change it in one day. They do beta. Facebook does beta, of course, but you can just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and don't have to worry about things. Open platforms, you need to provide a path for people to adopt the new ways, and that's exactly what WordPress core is doing, and of course, exactly what technology providers like WP Engine are doing.
That's awesome. Well, tell us more about Genesis Pro.
Sure.
In your recent article, like, what is that?
Yes. So try to phrase this in a way that's accessible to people that know about Genesis and those that don't. So again, I talked earlier about how full site editing was going to change the way themes work. So the first thing that WP Engine did is this, was kind of developing in WordPress core, was we said, okay, well, we're going to switch our parent theme model today to a plugin model to make sure people building with Genesis can still build with Genesis when full site editing hits core.
So this means that the child theme thing is going away. There's going to be a new way to do it besides child theming.
Yeah, so in the Genesis context, Genesis, the parent theme, will turn into Genesis, the plugin. Yeah. I'm actually unsure offhand of how the parent-child theme paradigm will work in full-site editing, but we've actually chosen, and a lot of people will, because of those lack of PHP functions and other reasons, to follow the plugin model. So if you're using Genesis today, Genesis, the plugin, will be available to you tomorrow, or when full-site editing is released. If you have support for Genesis today through StudioPress or through WP Engine or through Flywheel, you'll get support for Genesis the plugin in the future. We will likely be releasing Genesis the plugin on WordPress.org, so everyone can freely use it. Of course, if you want support, you got to kind of buy it through those channels I talked about, but everyone will be able to use it for free. So we're in the middle of this great shift in technology, and also great shift in how we offer our technology. And the value that we deliver to people. As part of that, what we've released is a product called Genesis Pro, which is the blog post you were referencing. So in the future state, we'll have Genesis, just as a plugin, and then Genesis Pro, which will be the premium offering. What Genesis Pro includes today is a ton of pre-designed blocks, section layouts, and page layouts. Now that doesn't sound too awesome, but let me explain what these things are. It's basically a toolkit right at your fingertips for building custom sites, for building sites faster. So we talked about one-click theme setup. That loads a bunch of blocks and a bunch of layouts and pages and things like that all in one go. Genesis Pro basically does a similar thing, but it gives you all the bits and pieces of all that and basically gives you a library of things to be able to build a site faster. So you might have a contact us block, you might have a portfolio entire page section full of mini blocks. And all of these blocks, all of these sections, all of these pages of demo content are completely configurable without using code. You can still use code. If you're a CSS nerd and you want to go do some stuff, no problem, you can do all that. Of course, you can still add your own custom content, custom plugins, things along those lines. But Genesis Pro provides all of the kind of block library capabilities, if you will, right there at your fingertips. The other feature it adds, which I love because people have to do this by hand today, is it adds the ability to control what those content creators are able to edit. You can choose any color you want as long as it's these 5 colors.
Right.
And that's actually huge, huge, huge for agencies and freelancers that don't want their clients, ruining the site they built for them. And then certainly brands that have brand guidelines, you can't. WP Engine site operates like this. I can edit web pages. I don't personally manage the WP Engine website, as you can imagine, but I do go in there, of course, to create content sometimes, and I can choose any color I want as long as it's those 5 colors.
That's awesome. That is super cool. Wow. Well, if you're listening to this in your earbuds as a podcast, do a Google search for LMScast, and you'll find we actually have a website where the podcast comes from. And on there, there'll be a link where you can click on and go find out more about WP Engine site templates. And if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, just there's a link somewhere around or below this video. David, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for putting your trust, WP Engine trust, in Lifter to collaborate on this. And really, going back to what we're talking about, putting the customer, which in this case is the course creator, the training-based membership site creator, at the center, and innovating together to move the starting line forward. I'm so excited that this is happening because I feel like that's all what we do is we remove friction. And I love seeing this as a giant step forward in that. So thank you to you and WP Engine for doing that. And thank you for taking us to school today. It was fun to nerd out for everybody out there, whether you are, starting and just doing it on your own, you're switching from a proprietary platform, or you are a freelancer or agency who builds sites for clients. This is a great innovation, great step forward. Thank you for the conversation today. Any final words for the people, and how else can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, my Twitter handle is @WPDavidV. And Chris, I just want to thank you for your partnership. I think for us to be able to have a partner we can rely on and trust to help our customers get their learning management sites online faster, that's of great value to us, and really, really appreciate your partnership here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, David. And we will see you around, hopefully at a WordCamp soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMScast. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I hope you enjoyed the show. This show was brought to you by LifterLMS, the #1 tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses to help you get more revenue, freedom, and impact in your life. Head on over to LifterLMS.com and get the best gear for your course creator journey. Let's build the most engaging, results-getting courses on the internet.